Hi, everyone. Very nice seeing you, and very excited to be in the Silicon Valley. For us, or at least for me and Michael, it's, we usually stay in the East Coast and not all the time coming here to the West Coast, so it's a great diversification, I would say. So pleasure to see everyone, and glad to see that there is a lot of interest in Israel and Israel innovation. We're gonna just do a short introduction of the panel members, and then we'll go to some discussion about the trends of investments, specific trends for the US market in general, but also specifically on the Israeli market. I'm Daniela Bendor, to whoever doesn't know me here, and I think there are quite a lot of new faces. And I'm a co-founder and managing partner at InnoVest Venture. We are investment arm that invests specifically in enterprise software, cyber, fintech, and anything AI and data, which is today everything. And typically we do it in the stage A or around stage A. And in our background, we've helped create several unicorns already, some in the retail tech, some in mobility, and some in enterprise software. This is kind of a short introduction. Just one thing to mention as we're here for Restart AL, we all hope, been too many days that we have still 50 hostages in Gaza, and we are all praying for their safe return. So I thought it's important to mention it here. So my friends and panelists, please introduce yourself. Ken, maybe you start and tell us about your background, what you like to invest in, the stage, and just so the crowd can get to know you.
Okay, pleasure to be here. So real quickly, I'm Ken Elefant. I'm a managing director at Sorenson Capital. I've been doing venture for about 26 years. Started off at Battery Ventures and then at Lightspeed. And then before starting up the venture fund at Sorenson Capital, I ran the software and security groups at Intel Capital. And at Sorenson, what we do is we have two funds. We have an early stage fund, which I run with my partner Rob and Eric, and we have a growth fund. By California standards, we're super small and boutique. It's a $150 million fund, and we invest really early stage, pre-seed and seed, and only in security and enterprise software. And our claim to fame is we like to open up doors at customers and partners for our startups to help them get that product market fit. And of our security companies, about half of them are Israeli. We've backed Ofer Ben-Nun at Talon Security, Idan Tendler at Bridge Crew, and several others that I think everybody knows. Over to you, Daniel.
Hi, everyone. I am a general partner in a fund called Cervin Ventures. We are an early stage fund. We do seeds and A's in enterprise software. We have 4 partners, a concentrated portfolio of about 15 to 18 companies per fund. We are on our 6th fund now, about 500 million in AUM. And we are pretty close to the companies that we invest in. We typically invest about 1 to 8 million as an initial check, and help out, with recruiting, board guidance, we're very close to the founding teams that we invest in. I particularly invest in infrastructure, so that covers the gamut of data, DevOps, AI, cybersecurity, to a certain degree IT management, and cloud. Been with the firm for about 4 years. We've been around for about 12 years. Previously, I led M&A and investments in Israel for Cisco, and then here I ran the data center, cloud, and networking teams in terms of inorganic growth, so that's M&A and investments. Invested in Israeli companies such as Gong, Habana Labs, Guardicore, some American companies like HashiCorp, Turbonomic, Viptela, and others. Originally from Israel, an 8200 grad, I was a lousy chip design engineer, so I had to do something else like a VC. And then I moved to the US and started working for Microsoft in the Azure team before joining Cisco.
Michael?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's very exciting to be here in the Silicon Valley. For me, who likes technology, just driving around and see all these companies. It's like a kid in a candy store. So it's not like New York. Not like my friends here. I'm not an investor, but I help investor to make successful exits. We represent cybersecurity companies on IP. As a lawyer, I don't see IP or patent as a legal document, but as a business asset. So we focus on the IP strategy and how the IP strategy can increase valuation and ensure successful exits. I'm fortunate to say that I was part of 80% of the cyber exits in 2024, 2025 in Israel, and I'm sure the big name out of it is Wiz, a client that we helped day one.
Wonderful. So now moving to some of the trends. As we all know, we look at the AI stage really as if we were in when the start of the internet really affected every company and changed our life, like having electricity almost. So I want to ask my panel members, how do you see AI changing the world? How do you see that? We've just seen one of the companies having a solo entrepreneur company sold for 81 million for Wix in less than 6 months. So there is a big change and big movement in terms of the time to market and needed personnel, as well as the capacity of organization and resources needed in order to get to market. What do you see? How is it going to change your companies or existing companies or future ones?
Yeah, sure, I can start. I'm sure everybody will chime in. So for us, like many other VCs, and I don't want to say we have a herd mentality. I think all of us do, but every company we invest in nowadays is an AI-first company. And what we've tried to do over the last 3 years since the basically coming out a moment of OpenAI and ChatGPT, we try to analyze the stack and figure out where do we actually play as a $200 million fund versus like a Lightspeed or a Sequoia, right? And so for us, that basically means that if you think about SaaS as we know it today, most of it, should I say something controversial? Yeah, for the most part, I don't know if it's controversial. Like all the SaaS companies are struggling. Some of them are, some of the incumbents are pretty much dead. And so, what does that mean? That basically means that you can reimagine, AI applications as like, I guess switching and maybe even taking over the roles of people rather than just enabling software. And on the infrastructure side, which is where I reside, I think about companies that can assist those type of transitions. And if I think about, in particular, like the data space, the cybersecurity space, the IT ops space, all of those are going to be AI first and AI enabled first. So the service, a different type of customer base, but also they have to change, and everything that they do has to have AI in their mindset and sort of weeded into how they work. That also impacts the engineering headcount, but even more so, it impacts workflows. It's how they handle themselves as a company. And we don't know what the playbook is because the playbook is being shaped up right now, but we are holding our CEOs accountable to basically figuring out like what do they need to do, what adjustments they need to make in order to actually survive this transition.
Yeah, so I'll answer the question really from the bottoms up. I think every process where a human is involved that is mundane is going to be taken over by AI if it's programmable. Every process. And the issue is that a lot of companies today are trying to implement AI, and they really don't know what kind of outcome they want. So what I'm looking for in my investments is what is the ROI on the AI that you're implementing? And it really can only work if you don't need a deterministic solution, a yes-no solution. So as an example, AI will be very helpful for an insurance company to process claims. It will go through all of the processes to get everything together. But at the end, you do need a human to make sure that there weren't mistakes in that process before you can make a decision. So we're really excited about it. The way that I think about it is there is so much opportunity. And just like Danny was saying, everything is going to be reinvented, whether it's a software company or processes.
Yeah, and to add to that, we see a lot of innovation, of course, in AI. And like Daniel said, I can really, I, I, I can match it to what happened in the cloud. That was like SaaS, and then the infrastructure as a platform, and then the platform itself. So where we see the innovation truly, it's in the infrastructure layer and not in the application layer, because everyone can come together with an AI bot or an AI agent that will, plan your next vacation or draft a new contract. But where innovation relies, I think where the deep tech is the infrastructure, tuning a model, creating a specific small models, and tuning GPUs to work at a very specific optimization level.
Wonderful, thanks. So looking into different sectors, obviously AI first is the answer here. But except for AI, where are the three sectors that you're excited about? I can tell you we like data security. We are very interested in anything fintech that can change processes in an optimized manner that will make ROI very visible. We also are very excited about a prop tech company that we have in our portfolio now. But these are like three sectors that we are excited. Would love to hear about where are areas that you think there is a lot of opportunity.
So I love segments that have not been automated and need new automation. So an example of that would be construction tech. And I think that there needs to be an immense amount of innovation that happens in construction tech. The problem is that a lot of the general contractors and the subcontractors in that market in particular are not very good at software. They're using 20-year-old software. So I love spaces like this because as an investor, I can be very patient. I actually am not looking for the company that's going to be a moonshoot. I'm looking for companies that can really be the backbone of these industries in the long term. And so I look at large companies in each of these spaces. In construction, it's Primavera P6 that Oracle has, and it's a horrible product. So I love looking at industries and seeing horrible products, and that's where I'm going to go.
All right.
Do you want to comment?
I love it. I think you should check our. We'll meet you with our founders here. Anyway, Daniel, do you want to mention?
Sure. I think I completely agree with Ken in the sense that if you think about what kind of like a I guess power law outcome would you look for, right? You look for a big market that hasn't been tapped into or has done things consistently in one way for 20 plus years and it's just changing. So we're doing a lot of those. Specifically, like one of my pet peeves, which is weird, I enjoy compliance quite a bit, and so we have a couple of compliance companies that are basically just working on exactly Ken's point, right? Automating processes that are manual and should not be manual. And so, we're spending a lot of cycles on that. And, we're also trying to reimagine a world where, the number of workers in a company is going to be, pretty small compared to the number of agents that they will deploy and they will orchestrate. So how do you actually orchestrate that? How do you actually enable that, permission that? So those are areas that we're very, very excited about.
So, everyone here is also involved with investing in Israel, and obviously the geopolitical status now and the war in Israel is making it sometimes not easy for founders out of Israel or founders that have R&D offices in Israel to do some business. Maybe not in the US, but elsewhere in Canada and Europe. And I would love to learn from you. What do you see? What do you see from your portfolio companies? Do you see any hurdles? And maybe from some of the team being in reserve? What is it that you're seeing, Michael, if you want to start there?
Sure. So I just came back from Israel last week. It's a double jet legs. But it was hot, brutally. But not just the weather, I think the economy, ecosystem of tech is booming. I felt a good energy of many companies are going out of stealth. Many clients of ours were able to raise rounds that they didn't even thought they would be able to raise. And I see two main sectors. One is cyber plus AI, agent-based to detect attacks or prevent attacks. And another segment is defense tech. I met a few companies. Founders just came out of reserves, ideas how to improve some weaponry systems, and they're able to raise money. I'm optimistic always, but this trip really made me super optimistic about the tech where the tech in Israel is going to.
Great.
I was just going to say, I love backing entrepreneurs that are resilient, where they don't give up, and they really just don't take no for an answer. And there's a very high percentage of people in Israel that are like that. And I do agree that there is a lot more pushback and resistance in certain parts of the world to Israeli entrepreneurs. But every little startup needs to start with a wedge, and there is enough of a wedge for these startups to get going, and then hopefully the politics will take care of themselves over time.
Perfect. Now, maybe our last question for this panel. There are many entrepreneurs here in the crowd, and what would be one advice that you can tell them that you think they haven't heard, maybe they haven't heard enough from your perspective? I can send one thing from our perspective is always fall in love with the problem and not with your solution. Learn, understand, try to figure out what is the problem that you're solving. Are you really answering a real need? And if you have a real problem and your solution addresses that and there is a big barrier, there is a better chance for you to succeed.
From my perspective, I'll do two, but I'll do it very quick. The first is that how do you approach a VC? So every entrepreneur that comes in from the CTO of DocuSign or the CTO of Forescout, I will drop everything and take that meeting. So if I was an entrepreneur, what I would want to do is make sure that I've got someone who is an advisor, even better if they're an advisor and a small investor in your company, make that intro for you. That is number one. Number two, the companies that I love are where there is really good founder market fit. And what I mean by that is, Nir Zook, who started Palo Alto Networks, came from Checkpoint. He knew exactly the problems that Checkpoint had, and then he launched Palo Alto Networks. Nir Zook, I just found out, did not start Wiz with the original vision that it has today, but he knew exactly where there was cloud security issues given his time at Azure. So I see way too many entrepreneurs that are like the 50th entrepreneur doing something that they think is sexy and not something that they've got an intimate founder market fit problem, and that's what I suggest.
I think the one advice that I'll give is I would echo Ken's point around the who makes the intro is important. Think long and hard about how do you do the outreach and what do you want to focus on, what do you want to prioritize, because unfortunately we are creatures of habit, and our habit is to think about many things at once. So our attention span is pretty low. So think about what is the most enticing thing, the second most enticing thing, third most enticing thing that you can tell that VC, and that would that's the first first impression that they get. So think about that.
Well, I have two tips, and one is legal advice, and second is business advice. Legal advice: protect your innovation. Business advice, and that's I learned from 55 plus founders of companies that I work very closely, and all of them knew how to delegate. They focus on what they need to focus, which is market and raising money. They were not concerned about any other things other than these two things. And those who successfully delegate are able to stay focused and make their startup a great success.
Great. Thank you, everyone.